Something fired a particle at a wall, and the particle went through two holes at the same time, which is already insane. But here's the part that should keep you up tonight. It only decided which hole it used after someone looked at it, not before. After. The universe, apparently, fills in the past on demand, like a lazy contractor who backdates the paperwork once the inspector shows up. And somehow, that is not even the strangest thing quantum physics has to say about time. Most of us treat time the way we treat a moving walkway at the airport. It goes one direction, you are on it, you move forward, end of story. You do a thing, the thing is done, it is locked in. Your embarrassing moment from third grade happened, it is over, it is permanent, it is in the past, and the past does not change. That feels like bedrock. It feels like the one thing in the universe you can count on. Physics, with absolutely no apology, is here to tell you that might be wrong. Not wrong in some distant galaxy sense, wrong in a way that applies to every atom in your body, every electron holding your molecules together, every particle that makes up the chair you are sitting on right now. Quantum particles, the tiny building blocks underneath everything, do not seem to experience time the way you do. They do not seem to experience it at all. Let us start simple. In 1801, a scientist named Thomas Young fired light at a barrier with two thin slits cut into it. He expected two bright lines to show up on the wall behind it. Instead, he got a pattern of dozens of alternating light and dark stripes, like a zebra crossing. That only happens when waves interfere with each other, like two sets of ripples meeting on a pond. The problem is light is not just a wave. It is also particles, tiny units called photons. So Young was somehow firing individual particles and they were interfering with themselves, as if each one went through both slits at once and collided with its own ghost. Physicists tested this with electrons too. Same result. One electron, two slits, interference pattern, one electron somehow in two places at once. The word for this is superposition. It means a particle exists in multiple states simultaneously until something forces it to pick one. Think of it like a coin spinning in the air. While it spins, it is neither heads nor tails, it is genuinely both. The moment it hits the table, it becomes one. Measurement, observation, any interaction with the world acts like the table. It forces the particle to choose. That is already a lot. But now add time into it, and things get truly strange. In 1978, the physicist John Wheeler proposed an experiment so unsettling that most people assume it must be theoretical. It is not. It has been run. The idea is called the delayed choice experiment. Here's what happens. You fire a photon at the two-slit setup. The photon travels toward the barrier. It goes through. It begins moving toward the detector screen. And then, while it is already in flight, you decide whether to add a second detector that can tell which slit the photon used. If you add that detector after the photon has already passed the slits, the interference pattern disappears. The photon behaves as though it only went through one slit, the one the detector identifies. If you do not add the second detector, the interference pattern stays. The photon behaves as if it went through both. The decision you make after the particle passes the wall changes how the particle behaved at the wall. You are not predicting history, you are, in a very precise and measurable way, selecting it. The photon, which has already done its traveling, seems to retroactively change its behavior based on what you are going to choose to look for. The universe is rewriting the recent past. That is not a metaphor. That is the experimental result. Now pair that with something called entanglement, and the situation becomes almost impossible to hold in your head. Two particles interact and become entangled. From that point on, they share a quantum state. Measure one and the other instantly reflects a corresponding result, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein hated this. He called it spooky action at a distance and spent years trying to prove it was wrong. He was wrong. Experiments in the 1980s and again repeatedly since then confirm entanglement is real. The two particles coordinate instantly, faster than light, with no signal passing between them. That violates everything we know about how information can travel. Nothing moves faster than light. That is one of the firmest rules in physics. Except entangled particles do not seem to need to send information at all. They simply share a state that exists outside of ordinary space and time. The correlation is built in, not transmitted. Which raises one very uncomfortable question. If these particles are coordinating without any signal crossing space or time between them, where exactly are they when they do it? Physicists have a name for one possible answer: the block universe. The idea is that past, present, and future do not flow. They all exist simultaneously, the way all the pages of a book exist even when you are only reading page 40. What we experience as the flow of time is us moving through a static four-dimensional structure. Every moment that has ever happened and every moment that will happen is already there, already fixed, laid out like a frozen landscape. You are not experiencing time passing. You are experiencing your position in the block changing. In that model, quantum particles behaving as if they know future measurements is not paradoxical. They exist in a structure where past, present, and future are all equally real, all equally present. The particle at the two slits is not seeing the future. It already coexists with its future in the same static geometry. Time, as you experience it, as a river you are swept down, is a story your brain tells about your movement through that geometry. The river is not real, the landscape is. That is either deeply liberating or genuinely horrifying, depending on how much you liked the idea that tomorrow is unwritten. If the block universe is right, it is not unwritten. It is already written. You are just getting to that page. But here is what you should hold on to. Even if time is a structure rather than a flow, even if quantum particles thread their behavior across past and future, without restriction, the experience of living through it remains real. Your choices still carve the path your consciousness follows through the block. The feeling of deciding still happens. The regret, the hope, the waiting, all of that is real experience, even if the timeline containing it is more like a landscape than a river. Quantum physics does not tell you that nothing matters. It tells you that the universe is operating by rules so strange and so deep that the human mind was not built to visualize them. We build intuition from tables and rivers and the feeling of time passing. The universe was not consulting us when it chose its rules. The smallest pieces of reality are non-local, superposed, retrocausal, and entangled in ways that erase the clean line between past and future. Everything around you is built from those pieces. You are built from those pieces. Your certainty that the past is fixed is an emergent feeling sitting on top of a foundation that has never heard of certainty. The particle went through both slits. You looked, and it picked one. The universe updated its story, and somewhere, a photon fired in an experiment is already threaded through a future observation that no one has made yet. Time is not the simple road you thought you were walking. It is something far older, far stranger, and far less interested in your sense of direction than you were hoping. If you liked this video, there is more like this, so follow the channel for the next one.